welcome to this episode of the Gunman. This is part 4 of the transformation of my 1985 Ford XF Falcon into a replica look-alike race car of the Peter Jackson livery. This livery was painted onto the EB, EF and EL Falcons and also the Sierra Cosworth Fords as well. So it's not the exact model of this car, but I just like the paint job, so I decided to do it. I think it looks really cool, and at the very end we've got a clip so you can check it out. But this video is mainly just focusing on the body repairs, the prep work, and we'll also touch quickly on the couple of rust repairs that I had to do. This is day 2, so the previous 3 videos was day 1, and we've moved into day 2 now. So we edged up the panels and we did the rust repairs and the prep work for the other 3 videos. So we're just identifying our dents and our ripples and our low spots, which there wasn't too many in this car because I'd already painted it prior. To be honest with you, with this dent here, I put it in there myself last time I was painting it, but I just decided to leave it in because it didn't show up too bad. But I was standing on a milk crate to repair it, it slipped out from under me and I landed on the roof, so when I was trying to block it down, but no big deal, I fixed it this time around. So here we've got the grinder on a couple of rust spots in the boot lid here, so just grinding that back until we've taken it right back and exposed as much fresh metal as we can. We're then spraying on some rust converter, then grab the heat gun and we'll take it back over and get some heat into it. It's starting to cool down. If it was nice and warm, you'd probably just leave it for 10 minutes, come back, and that'll be dried off. But get some heat into it. Just give that a couple of minutes, and then I just decided to go off and do something else. And I'm just using my fingers to wipe it in, make sure it gets right inside those holes. And you can use whatever, you can get a brush or something if you want, but I'm not too fussed about having clean hands. So what we're doing here is we're just giving that a scuff back, and then we're going to put in some metal filler, which my mate who was helping me out on this day was using on the quarter panel as well. He's a panel beater, so pretty good of him to help me on the Sunday. So now we've given that a bit of time to dry. Then what I do is just grab an old bit of sandpaper first, because fine filler usually makes your sandpaper go sticky and it sticks it up. So just use an old bit, rip that straight off once you've taken that top layer off of your filler, and then you start put a new piece on so it doesn't. Otherwise, if you put a new piece straight on, then it'll make it go sticky. Whereas if you use an old bit, it doesn't matter. You're gonna throw it out soon anyway. So and then I'm just using 180 on this repair, because I got the filler in nice and tight. I didn't overfill it, and 180 should be good enough. But if it didn't go in quite as nice, or if it's a bigger repair, you can start off with 80 even, or if it's a really big repair, you can even start off with some 36 just to knock it right down, and then go down through the grades. You probably want to finish up at about 120 to 180. Depending on what you're doing and your experience level, you can even do what I did here, which is I started off with 180, and then second up I went straight down to 320, and a quick go over it with some 400, and I actually didn't even prime that because the filler that I use is a fine filler. It won't leave you with any pinholes, and it's just the same as painting over primer. So I know some of you might say, you can't do that, you should put some 2-pack primer over it. Well, I didn't, and it looks fine, and it still hasn't shrinked back. So the proof's in the pudding, I guess. Yeah, I mean, if you're not as experienced, I probably would recommend just putting a couple of coats even of primer over it, depending on how good it feels. Like, you run your hand over it, if it's got a few ripples in it, put a good 4 coats over it, and then you grab your block again and block it back down. But most of the time when I do my own repairs, it doesn't really need too much primer on it. But sometimes the panel beaters where I work are pretty they just want to get the job done and they're a bit lazy, so you got to put a good 4 coats on all of their repairs, and they also don't use that filler that I use. So if you take it back to bare metal and a big repair, then you can't just use that filler which I use. you've got to use a rough filler, a heavy filler. So anyway, back to the job. We're going with 400 over all of the panels here. 400's right to paint over with just about most colours. Like if you were doing a silver or something, or a light metallic, and you're worried that 400 may leave some sanding scratches, you could decide to go over with 500 or even 600 if you want. There's no need to go much finer than that though, if you're putting base coat over the whole part. So going through a few sandpapers, so that's just that's normal. So I haven't bored you with all of the footage of every single stage. I've just given you a bit of a look at each stage. I've cut out a lot of it. I think started off with about an hour's worth of footage for this video, but I was able to cut it down to 20 minutes or 19 and a half minutes. So also sped it up to twice speed, which helped me cut the vid down a bit too. So I'm doing all the engine bay. We've removed all the parts. That was another video. So dismantling it, doing the rust repairs, and also edging up the panels. But you can see I've done the insides to the insides originally. So I've got my vacuum cleaner here, which now I'm continuing on to sand down the rest of the panels. And once you've got all the rest of the work done, the paint work's actually quite easy, I think anyway, because it's just a quick sand down. It's in pretty good nick, most of this car. There's not too many stone chips in it. There's pretty much none I really had to do. It was just a quick sand down. And then next up, I went over all the edges with some red Scotch-Brite. So in the next few videos, I think it'll be about 3 or 4, I'm not 100% sure yet. 3 or 4 videos down the track, we'll start getting into the custom paintwork and painting on the racing stripes, which I decided to spray on this job. We had the option of using decals or stickers, but I decided I wanted to spray them on, partly so I could make a video of it as well, just so I can show other people how to do it. And it's going to last longer. It's yeah, my boss said, oh, but now you've branded that car, that's always like that. And I said, well, you know what, I'm a spray painter. If I don't like it, I can spray it back blue again anyway. So yeah, it's just the way I decided to do it. So I'm just going over everything I can with the orbital sander and all the inside parts that you can't get into with the sander. I'll just go over with that red Scotch-Brite. So at the very end, there's a couple of links to a couple of my popular vids. There's one on a cherry red Jeep. There's also the basics of spray painting. So this covers some of the basics, but if you want to take it right back to basics, I just actually standing there in front of the camera on the tripod. I've set all the tools, all the equipment out, and yeah, taking it back to basics for you. So check that one out at the end if you haven't already seen it. Sub to the channel too, there's a link at the end. Keep up to date with all my latest. So now we're coming back, that's dried back. We've come back to the this boot lid here. So I've got 120 or 180 on here, and just sanding that metal filler out. So this is just a rough sand up so that we can put some filler back into it now, which is what my mate's he's doing some more rust on the quarter panel for me. We've also found a couple of spots here. So when you're doing stuff like this, there's no need to stop. Like you might say, oh, but the filler's drying, so what can I do? There's always something to do, and I think I did about 12 hours each day on this. So this is day 2, as I was saying. Day 3, I ended up getting the car painted, and I was able to put some of the panels back on, put the bumper bar and some of those things back on together. So, and there's no need to stop. There's always something to do. So I'm just sanding that. There was a few bits of just surface rust really. It started to pit up a little bit, but I still decided to put some of that the rust killer on, rust converter on, which is just a water-based product. So here we go. We're putting the filler into that boot lid. So my hand's going to clean up pretty easy with a bit of water, as it's a water-based product. It's no big deal. Not going to kill you. So I'm just using the interface pad when I'm sanding the panels down. It helps on the curves and stuff, stops you from cutting through so easy. The interface pad is just that foam pad I've got in between the hard sanding pad of the orbital sander. Using the Dynabraid is the brand of the sander. They're pretty awesome. I've always liked them. They've come down a lot in price from when I first started. They were about $420, and now you can get them for about 320 Aussie dollars. So for the quality that you get and the price you pay, I think they're quite good. You just make sure you put a bit of oil in them at least twice a week. They say to do it daily, but if you do it twice a week, it's pretty good, and you can use them daily. Like, they're real good quality. Just got to be careful over oiling. That's what I was going to say. If you put too much oil in them, then the oil goes in the back of where your air fitting is, and then it'll actually come out the exhaust. They've got a little exhaust where the air comes out, and you'll end up just spraying that oil all over your panel. So all they really need, if you're doing spray painting, just one drop, literally one drop, and yeah, that's all you need. Just do it every couple of days, and you don't want to over oil them. That's why I don't actually do them every day, because you can end up spraying oil all over your panels, and that can create problems with your paintwork, like silicon holes and stuff like that. So down there on that quarter panel down the bottom, you can just see is where we've also done a couple more filler repairs. There was some rust through there, and the other thing that I did later on was to spray the insides of all the panels with some cavity wax, which is, you can buy that in aerosol cans or in different spray cans, and they've got little nozzles on them. They can get up into all the hard to get to spots, and you can poke them up into a small screw hole or something like that inside your door, and you can just absolutely cover it with the cavity wax. Hopefully stop the rust from coming back too quickly. I mean, it's always going to come back, short of basically taking your panels completely off and replacing them, which no one really wants to do that when you just want to change your colour. I'm hoping to get 5. If I get 10 years out of it, then that's an absolute bonus, but 5 years is realistic, really. And it's good being a spray painter. I know how to fix it. I can do it myself. So, and the last thing I'm actually waiting on, there's 2 things, sorry, I'm waiting on for this car. I'm waiting on my chrome rocker cover to get re-chromed, and a couple of decals on my slime rider. I've been very patient. I haven't been bothering him, but I have been waiting for a few weeks, and he dropped in the other day doing some other stuff, and he said that he's going to be coming in next week and finishing it off for me. So looking forward to getting that finished off. There's only a couple of decals left to go on, and he's actually got all of those decals on file for me. So if I do decide I just want to touch up this quarter panel, if the rust comes back, then he's got them all saved into his computer for me, and we can just do them and redo the decals. So Yorkie's Stripes and Signs is the guy that's doing it for me, actually. So he's the guy here in Perth looking after me, so did a real good job. So now I've removed that interface pad, and we'll come back over to this boot lid, and I'll put some 120 grit on because it was a decent size repair. Didn't want to go 180, it's probably a bit too smooth. So just starting off with the orbital sander, and we'll finish it off with the block. Same with down here. You just take the bulk of the filler out, and then you can go over the top of that with the block to get it a bit straighter. So the reason I've missed out the passenger side is because most of it didn't really have any filler repairs on it. It was just there's 2 little patches of rust over there. That one that I showed you before, I just put a bit of filler in that, and the rest of it was just a simple sand down, Scotch-Brite and paint. There was a bit of filler work inside here. The whole car had been hit. It must have been in an accident before I had it a long time ago. all the old filler was just flaking up out of the engine bay there, so I decided to just grind it out there and redo it. And that green stuff that I've put down is just some etch primer, because I was originally going to paint the inside of the engine bay at the same time as when I did the door jambs, but I just ran out of time, so I decided I'll just leave it for now and left it overnight until the second day. That's why I put some etch primer over it to stop it from rusting overnight. It's a good idea if you have any bare metal spots. If you're going to do some repairs on that, it's a good idea to seal them down with some primer if you're going to leave them for too long. Overnight's probably okay, but if you're to leave it for more than that, it will start rusting up. Also, got to be careful that your hands don't have any water on them, or there's no moisture. If you're living in high humidity areas, you've got to be extremely careful with humidity blisters in the paintwork and also rust. So that filler I was putting on there was just a bit of pinhole filler, so there was a couple of pinholes that we were left over with, so put a bit of that in. And next up, we just got the maroon or red coloured Scotch-Brite, which is fine enough for the colour that I'm doing, which is a solid, which is the blue that you can see on the insides of the panels. If I was doing a lighter colour, or if I was doing a metallic, I'd probably would have decided to use grey Scotch-Brite pad, because red would be a touch too coarse. But yeah, just on the colour I'm using, you can pretty much treat it like a primer, because it will fill up these scratches. You've also got the green coloured Scotch-Brite pads too, which is even coarser again. So next video we'll be covering all the masking. I took loads of footage of the masking on this job. I took heaps of footage of each step on this job, just being that it's my own car, and it's kind of came up pretty cool. It's doing something different than usual. As I always say, give me some feedback. Let me know what you think of the vids. Let us know if you like them, dislike them, what you think I can do to improve them. But the feedback I've been getting is that they're pretty good, and just keep up the good work. So yeah, we've got a quick clip of the car, about a minute, a quick walk around of the car as it is at the moment. And this is this week's episode, and next week I'll be doing one more video on this. I do a video each week on this XF. And that just about gets us ready to go into the spray booth and mask it up. So this is how it sits at the moment. This is last weekend. A nice sunny day. These are actually the most built Australian model of a car ever. They're the XF Falcon. If you missed it at the start, it was about 280 something thousand of them built in Australia. They went for a long time, right from 1985 I think it was, right up to 1992. So got a real big kick in them. Got that carby on them. 250 crossflow, pretty popular engine around the world. 4.1 litre. I've got a nice cam in mine. Got a lumpy cam in it. It goes pretty hard. I've painted up those wheels as well. So as I mentioned before, we've just got a couple of Bridgestone stickers to put on it over the fenders, and a few other small stickers here and there, shells, stuff like that. So check out these vids if you haven't already seen them. Thanks again for watching, and this has been another Gunman production. Goodbye.